Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Initiation into Spiritism. As you know, we have been studying this book that was written by Terezinha Oliveira, and she presents many lessons that are very important for all of us. We want to understand more and learn more about Spiritism. And today we have a very interesting topic, which is one topic that many people have interested in learning more and understanding more, that it talks about mediumship. We are going to be covering two chapters of the book, chapters 31 and 32, that talks about mediumship. So let us start by giving, first of all, indication of how can we learn and study even more about Spiritism and mediumship. There are many books that were written on mediumship. Of course, the first one that we are going to suggest to everyone that is interested in learning more, in expanding their knowledge on mediumship, is always going to be the Medium's book. Then, of course, we will find many references in the Spirit's book, and also the book In the Domain of Mediumship by Francisco Cândido Xavier, by the Spirit André Luiz, Into the Unseen by Leon Denis, Disobsession as well by André Luiz, Mediumship by Richard Simonetti. We have a mediumship course, another book from Terezinha that is talking to spirits and mediumistic meetings, Obsession, Discarnate Spiritist Therapy for Discarnate Spirit, and Guidelines for Safety. So if you have the chance, check them all. We will find many important, relevant information for all of us who want to further our studies on mediumship. So as we can see, the education or unfoldment of mediumship is the work of a lifetime. I would go, further and say that this takes many incarnations for us to refine, so to say, our ability, our possibilities of this communication that we will have between the two worlds, incarnates and disincarnates alike. So let's see some basic concepts. What is mediumship? So mediumship is the exercise of the mediumistic faculty. Medianimic, which is another word that we use, comes from the Latin word medium, which is the intermediary, and another word that is anima, that means the soul. So it is the intermediary of the soul, this is special faculty that we can have between these two worlds, like we said before. And medium, of course, is going to be the one that is the interpreter of spirits. Almost all people feel the influence of spirits, but this classification is only practically applicable to those people's faculty produces well-marked results. So just for us to have an idea, we can visualize here what would be an incarnate and a discarnate, and how there is always this interchange of, energy, of thoughts. And so it is natural for us to feel the influence of the spirits at some point in our lives. Of course, many people will not be aware, will not see exactly the difference that is, among them, their own thoughts and the thought that may be suggested. So that's why it's always important for us to think about, to ponder a little bit about our thoughts and the reason for us to have them, because sometimes they may not be our own, they may have been suggested to us. We are all mediums. Yes, if you had any doubt that there was a possibility for you to somehow receive the thoughts, the influence of spirits, now we have to remove all these doubts. This is what we have in the Medium's book, where Kardec presents to us this statement, because somehow all of us are capable of, having an intuition, an inspiration, a kind of presentiment, or even more ostensible way of interchanges. Normally, when we apply this word, medium or mediumship, we are talking about people that have more frequent, constant, and well market results, like they have what we call speaking mediumship, also known as psychophony, or mediumistic writing, automatic writing, that we also call psychography, physical effects. So things that we can attest that there is another individual that is acting through someone. This word medium was actually a word coined by Allan Kardec. So every time that we say the word medium, actually it came about with Spiritism, with Allan Kardec, that, as we saw, the origin being the intermediary from its root, Greek root, Latin root, it was employed that made sense when we think about the role of the mediums of being exactly intermediaries of both planes. Many times we will have this idea that mediums are special people. But we will be talking about that and showing how mediumship actually occurs, and just for us to have an idea of the whole process. So at the left side of your screen, you will see this flickering light that is representing our spirit with our spiritual body in blue, and on the right side and to the middle, we will have the physical body. And when we detach, spiritually speaking, with spirits and spiritual body, we will be able to be more open and receive this communication. So every time we get into contact with the spiritual world, there is at least this light disengagement from us, spirit, and perispirit is spiritual body. So we can be, so to say, more in tune with the messages that will come from the spirits. So mediumship is a faculty that will allow them, us to feel, to transmit the influence of the spirits, enabling this interchange, the communication between spirit and physical world. So it is an inherent aptitude that may or may not be used. So before incarnation, we will reincarnate with our physical bodies, let's say, ready to be able to go through this process of more, detachment out of body in a way to allow us to get more in sync with the spirits. Of course, it can be practiced, it can develop, but we're not saying that one that was not, let's say, prepared before reincarnation to act as an ostensive medium will be able, through practice or a workshop or a small crash course, be able to act as an ostensive medium. So, but each time more we will be working with mediumship, practicing, we will expand even more our possibilities. And again, one thing that is very important for us to keep in mind is that we cannot say that mediumship pertains to a particular people or places that depend on your age or gender, your social status, or a religious affiliation. It can be one person that doesn't know anything about spirituality, does not even believe in the creation or God, but it still will have this possibility of perceiving and somehow conveying messages from the spirit realm. So very often when a mediumship starts emerging, the person will show certain signs of, certain struggles, you can even say suffering, a disturbance, an imbalance. There are even some misconception that goes far as to say that the person is disturbed. It's because it's mediumship. Mediumship is what provoke this kind of imbalance and disturbances. So it's very important for us at this point to understand that mediumship is neither a disease nor a disturbance, because it's a natural faculty. So if a person is disturbed because of mediumistic manifestation, it is because the person still lacks emotional balance, or because the person still do not understand exactly what is mediumship and how it works, and how sometimes, depending on the spirit that is coming to manifest, we may feel the repercussion of the emotions of that spirit that can provoke this kind of imbalances in us. So whoever is presenting any kind of disturbance should, first of all, should not be assigned to work as a medium. Okay, first we have to be in control, to find physical and psychical balance, go and resort to passes, the laying on of hands, prayers, learning more about spiritism and mediumship, and always, in case you are signing any showing any signs of imbalance, physical or emotional, we always recommend to go to doctors, because it can have a physical cause. It may not have anything to do with spiritual causes. So it's always good to follow with that, to follow with your doctors, to see what is happening with you physically and emotionally speaking. So the presence of mediumship is it's usually well defined when there is proven spirit sight or hearing. So people will come and say, I saw a spirit in my home. Or there is what we call a psychophonic trance, a trance mediumship, the speaking mediumship, or even the receiving of, writing messages, psychography, as we call. Or we will be seeing physical effects like sounds, lights, displacement of objects that may be present in the home, around that particular individual. So the most important thing for us is always to observe and to see repetition, because sometimes, we may misplace our keys and say, oh no, it's the spirits that have moved away my keys. But no, it's just you that misplaced it, and has nothing to do with a spiritual interference. So that is always important for us to use reason when analyzing all of this phenomena. So signs and symptoms of mediumship, they are not originating from organic causes. Remember, as we just said, we have to discard first or any kind of organic causes, and going to the doctor and see if there is something going on with us. But if this is not the case, in terms of us start sensing the invisible presences, sometimes we will present signs of excessively deep sleep, even a fainting, unexplained sensations, ideas, these mood swings, crying crises, even sometimes bloating, feeling of swelling, dilation of the hands, feet, all over the body, because this sometimes is what happens when we have this disengagement from our spiritual body, our perispirit, numbness and tingling in the arms and legs, chills, shivers, heat and palpitations. And I know that sometimes, some of you that are watching now will say, oh my God, I feel all that. Yes, we feel all that. This is part of our organic body. But what the point here is there a reason for you to feel that or no? Is it happening often, and have you discarded any organic causes? If this is the case, then we have to pursue other avenues. When we talk about mediumship as well, we cannot say that there is one kind of mediumship that is more important than other, or mediums that are stronger than other, because this is, first of all, is not a competition, right? We are all here with a purpose of using this tool, precious tool, this instrument for us to be able to learn from the spirit world, ways of improving ourselves, and of course help others to receive the same information so that they can improve themselves as well. So the Apostle Paul of Tarsus said that mediumistic gifts comes from the original source and always from the same Lord. What will make the medium spiritually greater is what is accomplished with the gifts one may have. So here is where the difference lies. What use are we giving to these precious tools? Are we trying to think about using that for our personal gain, for curiosity, for trivial things, or are we understanding the real reason for that and applying it to improvement in general of ourselves and others? So there are those in terms of mediumship that dedicate themselves more than others. They are more engaged in producing these good results, who are capable of, altruism, of making efforts for self-improvement. So this is what is going to make all the difference when we are talking about difference in the practice of mediumship. And so again, it's not a matter what you will say, oh, this produces more results because the result, if it's related to trivial things, is not a good result. So how can we unfold mediumship, develop mediumship? From the spirit standpoint, to develop mediumship is not just to sit at a mediumistic table and start giving spirit communication. This is very common at the beginning of when the phenomena start happening here in the US with the Sister Fox and other mediums that followed, and then traveled to Europe and other countries. So that was what they were doing. They were there sitting in seances and holding hands and waiting for spiritual communication. But development of mediumship is related to refine, discipline our spiritual sensitivity in order to reach the best conditions possible so that the spirits can communicate, and then we will learn to conduct this mediumship properly, the best techniques, and actually using it for the loftiest purposes. So again, it's not with a name for us to satisfy curiosity and just receiving information that will not be useful to us and to others in the sense of self-improvement. So such mediumistic development encompasses three main steps. So the first one is related to scientific and philosophical approach. So the medium needs to know Spiritism to understand the universe and other beings, as well as oneself, as evolutionary beings governed by the law of cause and effect. And special attention will be paid to the understanding of mediumistic interchange, the action of thought upon fluids, the nature and situations of spirits and the life beyond, the perispirit and its properties in mediumistic communications, types of mediumship. So this is where we start, and the reason why we started recommending, books, readings about mediumship. Many people say, I already have mediumship. I don't need to learn more about it. Yes, we do need to learn more about it. We can all be capable of doing things, so many different things in life, but everything that we engage ourselves more, everything that we will try to enlighten ourselves more, we will be able to do it in a better way. There is always a better way of doing that. And when we are talking about this scientific aspect in terms of mediumship, is understanding exactly, the fluids, what like we showed to you, how can I disengage from my spirit, my physical body, and be capable of still retaining memory and control over my physical body, and still convey messages from other spirits. So there is much for us to learn in terms of the science behind mediumship, and of course its philosophical aspects, because then we are talking about, understanding the universe, understanding ourselves, the whole creation, and the whole purpose of mediumship. And we also have the technical aspects, so that we can discern what kind of spirits are communicating with us. We will feel through their fluids, the smell, the sensations, the way we go to trance, and the way we go out of body, how we are capable of being in control during the manifestations. They are very, very important. And of course, one of the most important things and essential, so to say, is the moral aspect. Inner transformation is indispensable. If we want to communicate with spirits that are going to be enlightening us, if we are talking about, communicating with whoever kind of spirit there is, it's one thing. But the spirits that can enlighten us, that can really assist us, they are going to be more easily connected to us if we do our part. So in terms of being vigilant and praying and trying to work from our inner improvement. So all of this is what happened when we work on ourselves, when we work to develop ourselves, morally speaking. So chapter 32 will give a general perspective in terms of mediumship and spiritism. So let us remember that spiritism is a body of thought. It's very recent. It's just completed 165 years this year, and we celebrate on April 18, when there was the release of the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec in Paris, France, as a result of questions and answers from spirits that were obtained through several meetings, different mediums, different places, collecting all these questions and answers and putting them together in a system of analyzing, if they were, we had the same answers for the same questions, to see if the spirits were being coherent. So a system of convergence, so that we could actually be capable of coming, and in this case, Kardec, and putting all together, organize all together in this book. Of course, we are not claiming as spiritists that mediumship is a new phenomenon. The word medium maybe mediumistic, mediumnimic, mediumship, but the phenomena is very ancient. It is there in all times, nations, places. History shows that this is an inherent human faculty that we will see among us. And it's a very natural law that will make it possible for incarnate and incarnate spirits to communicate. So we see the priestess in ancient India, Persia, Egypt, Rome, they took advantage of this concept to exert influence over the people and even over rulers, right? To secure power over the masses. They used all that magical practices, everything they could in order to take advantage. But the thing is, we will see that present. One of the things that people bring to when we start a conversation about mediumship is about Moses' prohibition against evoking the dead. So we have in Deuteronomy 18, 10 and 11, let no one be found among you who sacrifices his son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft or casts spells, or who is a medium or a spiritist, or who consults the dead. So Moses' prohibition was well justified because evoking the dead did not originate from the sentiments of respect, affection, or even piety toward them. They were a means of fortune telling, much like the omens and auguries is exploited by charlatanism and superstition. This is how Kardec presents to us this passage in reference to this Moses prohibition. There was a complete abuse of this interchange between the two planes. So Spiritism also condemns everything that motivated Moses to interdict mediumship. So Spiritists do not sacrifice children or offer libation to honor the gods. They do not inquire of heavenly bodies, the dead of sorcerers, in order to divine the future that God has wisely hidden from humankind. It rejects any form of making a business of the faculty of communicating with spirits, and are not motivated by curiosity or greed, but by a sentiment of piety, desire to learn, to improve themselves, or to comfort suffering souls. So everything that Moses were trying to prevent people at that time to do is not what we have here as well. I mean, the idea of mediumship in the Spiritism is this idea of, learning, of use this possibility of interchange with the spirit world to prevent us from growing into the same mistakes over and over again, and to receive instructions from more evolved spirits, so that we can find this path of happiness and peace that we so much wish. So mediumship was present in the Bible, because many people say, oh, where is mediumship in the Bible? So despite the prohibition of Moses, we often come across stories in the Bible in which authorities or ordinary people speak or act under the influence of spirits, and also other types of communications, such as dreams and visions. The Hebrew scriptures contain many instances of such communication, showing that the same was that they were accepted. From Jacob wrestling with an angel to the materialized hand that wrote on the wall in the palace at Babylon, to the phenomenon of speaking in tongues, the Bible contains many examples of that phenomena that began to reoccur with the birth of modern spiritualism in 1848. And many eminent scientists and thinkers of the 19th century who had lost their faith because they considered the reports of miracles in the Bible to be impossible in light of materialism became believers again after observing biblical style miracles that took place right before their eyes in spiritualist sciences. So that was what was happening here in the US and Europe and so many other places where, those scientists start engaging themselves and they start wanting to confront first with a name to debunk all the phenomena, but then realizing that everything was actually happening. And does Jesus talk about it? Yes, he makes many references to mediumship, as we can see in his dialogues about spirits, giving instruction to the disciples to use their psychic faculties. When he said, heal the sick, cleanse the lepers, and raise the dead. So it is important to note that throughout the New Testament, there is not a single passage forbidding the communication with the beyond. And of course, there is always this recommendation that whatever we have received for free, we should give for free. So when we are talking about this interchange between these two worlds, we are just the intermediary. So the phenomena, the words, the messages do not belong to us. They belong to the world, and we are capable of transmitting them. So what is the use of mediumship in Spiritism? So let's talk about this a little bit. So Spiritism emerges employing mediumship as a valuable tool for the spiritualization of humanity. It also does not agree that anyone misuses it. It clarifies that it has a higher purpose and teaches techniques for safety and spiritual gain in mediumistic practice, especially in Allan Kardec's The Medium's book. Remember, this is a study, a very important study, and that's the reason why we are doing this more as a study than actually a talk. It's not a talk. We are here studying together. And it's very important for us, to see the words, to see the references, like we have this reference here from Kardec. This is the way he presents mediumship to us. And there is another author, Martin Spiralva, in a book called Mediumship and Evolution. There he says that without us disciplining and moral force of spiritism, mediumistic phenomena would no doubt remain just a whirlwind of overwhelming energies without any aim or a goal and no educational purpose. And this is what we learn. To be able to have this faculty, to be able to hear the spirits, to be able to communicate, it's very easy, but we have to use it rightly. It's like, I always like to mention that, when we play with fire is wonderful, right? It brought so much evolvement to our world, but it needs to be well used. It has to be tamed. We cannot just, light fire and live it like this. So we can channel this force and use it for a good purpose, to light the fire of the inner desire of learning and growing more. So in the Spiritism, the objective of mediumistic practice is to receive advice from enlightened spirits. We want to learn from them. We don't want to go through, all the struggles that we have been going in so many incarnations. And now if we can have this kind of communication and learn more and avoid, same paths that caused us so much trouble, this is going to be very useful to us to teach higher moral awareness, to those that are imprisoned in vice, in passion, to increase knowledge and clarity regarding our essential nature, spiritual origin, and ultimate destination. We know that we are immortal spirits, that we will have as many lives as necessary for us to grow. So we will start having this kind of understanding, and it's transformed in a catalyst for human progress due to the benefit it brings. Good advice to mediums: educate yourselves. It's very important for us to learn, to study, to understand the phenomena, not to become prey of spirits that maybe use us and deceive us and lead us astray. Fight our addictions, including the mental ones. We are not just talking about physical addictions that can be of different natures, but also, our way of thinking, in terms of sometimes, how much we give room for negative emotion to dominate us, for negative feelings and thoughts to become, to dictate our behaviors. Learn to be good. Why? Because we still are not good. We still need to exercise good and start feeling how much good makes us feel good, right? And reading uplifting books every day also helps us, because then we will be surrounding ourselves with good energy, and not only learning, but also, from the thoughts that we are going to be having due to this reading of uplifting books will also change the psychosphere, the atmosphere around us, and of course always seeks God through prayer. And when we say prayer, we are not saying things that words that we say by heart, but words that we pronounce with our hearts, with our sentiments, with the desire of having this connection with God. And Allan Kardec, in the book Spiritist Journey, we already have this book into English, translated into English, he says that the most important thing in Spiritism is not mediumistic phenomena, but its principle and its moral consequences. So for those who think that Spiritism is all about mediumship, it is not. It is about, really learning and using this possibility that we have of communication with the spirits to be able to work on ourselves and work on our spiritual transformation. That's why the word is learning, getting more information, because when we know what we are doing, we are fearless and we can do things in the proper way and not be affected by them. So now we are going to, I know that you may have many questions, so we are going to address those questions now. Let's see. Where is mediumship located? There is a very interesting question. So mediumship is based in the physical body, which will ease a partial emancipation of the perispirit, so that the spirit of the medium may recover perceptions and spiritual faculties that are usually blunted by the material body. So it is in our physical body. So when we are reincarnating, upon taking the responsibility, so to say, of working or becoming a medium for a purpose of becoming this intermediary, there will be organic predisposition for us to be able to disengage in this out-of-body experience and then be able to go through the phenomena. Let's see if there is another question. how can we identify mediumship? Kardec is actually the one that answers this question, and he says that unfortunately, until today, there are no diagnoses that can be inferred, even approximately, that someone has this faculty. The physical signs that some people may show, they may at first seen as evidence, but they are not infallible. So this is really hard because there are many, like we said, there may be organic causes that may be as a result of a physical illness. And in this sense, we are more capable of, this disengagement for the spiritual from the physical body and become more aware of spiritual perceptions. There are several reasons, but it doesn't mean that we can say for sure, because if people come to you and say, oh, I see spirits, I hear this and that, it doesn't necessarily mean that the person is a medium in that sense of the word that we explained at the beginning, that is going to be present well-marked results and frequent results. Okay, let's see another question. Why are some people more in tune to the spirit world than others? So that's an interesting question. Like we said, mediumship is a question of choice, right? So we are there in the spirit realm, and all of a sudden we look at, how much we still have together to learn, to go in terms of our evolutionary process. And we want to speed up this process. So one thing that we can do is really accept this possibility of reincarnating with this predisposition to become a medium and this ability. So when we reach a certain point and we start committing ourselves, like we emphasize in terms of the moral aspects, the more we start accepting that, or when we start working properly with mediumship, the more in tune we will be able to become with the spirits. And then if in a future incarnation we come and do the same thing, and we come with the same predisposition, each time more is going to facilitate this process that is, something that we have been conquering throughout several incarnations and not just one. So as we can see, it's very complex. One case is not the same as the other. So there are many possibilities, but one of them would be this one. Okay. Let me see here. Does the way you use your mediumship influence the kinds of spirits who will communicate through you? Yes, absolutely. Yes, of course. Let's talk about, ourselves in life. The way we conduct ourselves, the way we treat others will determine the kind of people that are going to be attracted to us, the kind of people that will be repelled by us because of our behavior, because the way we deal with people. So as a medium, the more we strive to live an ethical life, then we will be able to attract wise spirits, more evolved spirits, especially if we're not using these gifts for selfish impulses, because if we do that, we are going to be attracting selfish spirits as well. Like attracts like, right? So in this case, it all depends on how we behave, on our intentions, and the more our intentions are noble in terms of enlightening ourselves and helping others, the more we will be capable of attracting good spirits to communicate through us. I've read that mediums have no control over the spirits who choose to communicate through them. Is this true? No, it is not. Many times, for those who do not study the whole phenomenon, like we said, in terms of the scientific, technical part of mediumship, everything that is behind the phenomena, they think that as soon as the spirit, so to say, takes over, I have no more responsibility. No, this is not the case. We are always in control. This is our physical body. This is our home, and knows our dwelling, and no spirits will be able to manifest unless we give ourselves into it and the way they are going to manifest as well. So it is our responsibility, not only, like we said in the previous question, to see what kind of spirits are going to communicate with us. Of course, we are not talking here about mediumship work that are completely dedicating to help spirits that are suffering, in need, that are lost in their ways. So in this case, we will see suffering spirits, needy spirits communicating through mediums that are very dedicated. But this is is their choice, is their offering, their possibilities for this work of charity to be conducted. So in this case, as well, and when spirits of good nature spirits are communicating, the mediums always have to be in control and be capable of stopping the phenomena at any point if they don't see it as being a good thing. So let's always pay attention to that, and not just say, oh no, there's a spirit next to me who wants to communicate. If you are not in the proper place, you should not do that. Okay, you're not going to perform surgery in the middle of the street if you don't have the necessary equipment to do so. And the last question, am I expect to become a saint in order to be a good medium? Well, it's going to take a long time for us to be classified as saints. I think, the whole process of learning is very slow, is lifelong process. What we have to strive to is to achieve a tiny bit of progress every day. So every day we should go to ask ourselves and say, have I learned anything today? Have I accomplished good today? What mistakes have I made today? So let us be honest with ourselves in answering those questions, pay more attention on our behaviors the following days, and little by little, we are going to be achieving much more improvement. And the important thing always is to remember that mediumship, it is a tool. It is a possibility that we have of achieving this improvement. And if we dedicate to it properly, that's the best thing we can do. And remember, in a way, all of us are mediums. All of us are connecting, receiving the messages, receiving, the thoughts from spirit. So if we apply ourselves, of course, this influences this help that we can receive from good spirits will be even more present on our day-to-day basis. So I'm sure there will be more questions, but be aware, because next year we are going to continue this course, Initiation into Spiritism, and we are going to be promoting, hopefully, one course only in relation to mediumship, also from Terezinha Oliveira, and we are in the process of preparing all that for you.